Yep.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Welcome to How to Grow a Dad's Group. My name is Brock Luch. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Charlie Paris, Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Cincinnati Dad's Group is part of the larger entity known as the City Dads, based out in New York originally, and has spread all over the country to 36, right? 40 cities. So definitely getting our reach out there. So over 10,000 dads. 16,000. Okay, nice. I got my information feeder over here, Matt Schneider, so from the City Dads. So cool. Charlie has basically joined me because through the group that through the breakout that I did last year, we got to talking, and he was able to get his dad's group going in Sioux Falls, right?
Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Yeah.
So 4 hours away from here.
Cool. So we're going to talk about what it takes to grow a dad's group, what we've done, what's worked, what's not worked, and the different emotional sides that go along with that.
No, you're fine.
You're fine. So anyway, so we're going to get into all that, and then also too, we're going to do a Q&A. So we're just going to kind of present like how we got going, and then we want to kind of converse with you guys, what questions you got, see what we can do to help just kind of give you that extra bit of confidence to go back and get things rolling in your towns that you're in. And we're doing this on Facebook Live as well, so the guys in the attendees page can also see this, so that they too can come back and look at this as well. And I always tell everybody, like at the end, if you got questions, feel free to hit us up, Messenger and that kind of thing. I've talked to many guys from last year just on the phone about different ways to get things going, what their frustrations are. So let me start. 2017, I became an at-home dad, and my passion for just meeting people was brought into okay, how do I meet other dads in the city? Because I don't want to be isolated. I think that's one of the biggest goals as an at-home dad. But I also don't want to start a dad's group that's just solely based for at-home dads, which is kind of how it got started, and then it switched into something bigger. So for me, I started inviting different guys into a Facebook closed group, and after about 50 or so guys involved with that, I found the National At-Home Dad Network, and there, of course, there are quite a few City Dad organizers, and I got to talking to one City Dad organizer from the Charlotte area, and he introduced me to Matt and Lance, and we got to talking, and through a series of different things was there's the Columbus Dad's Group was 90 minutes from us, the Indianapolis Dad's Group was 90 minutes from us, and then there was a Cleveland Dad's Group, which is way further north. But it was all right, how do we make these 90 minutes? Is that too close? Can we get another group in there? And it really kind of worked out to where those are far enough apart that bringing Cincinnati into the mix just kind of worked out well, because 90 minutes is a bit of a distance sometimes to drive. So we started up getting things going and got the Cincinnati Dad's Group going. Luckily, I was able to already grab that name on Facebook. Nobody had actually grabbed it up. So that made things a whole lot easier for just getting a really nice solid name that's easy to search. So I'd say that's probably the first thing. Try to go, when you're doing your dad's group, just go with that specific city or town that you're in and put that in, so that way it's really easy to find. And you don't have people who are like, oh, what's the name of it? And it's some obscure name dad's group. You just have it as your town. So that's probably the first piece of advice I would give you. So anyway, we got that going. And then upon that, just getting around talking to different people is the other big thing. And I think that's the one part that can be a little intimidating, is when you get around different folks, especially moms who you're at the park with or whatever, and you get to a point where I run this dad's group in the city. For some, that might be oh, that's great, my husband's my spouse has been looking for something like that. For others, they might be that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Really? But when you get into talking about what you do and how you go through your motions of bringing dads in and working together with the dads and the kids, they sort of see the light in that. So that's kind of step 2, is basically being able to step out there. I want to defer really quick to Charlie, because Charlie lives in a smaller area than I do, whereas I'm in Cincinnati, he's in Sioux Falls. So I kind of want you to talk a little bit about what you've kind of
first of all, I became an at-home dad in 2012. We were living on the East Coast for my wife's work, far from family. I was actually unemployed at the time. I quit my job to move with her. Get my herd military. I was out there for a year and a half. Couldn't find a job. Went to college. Said we're not getting younger. Want to have kids. I can do this on my own. I heard about the dad's group literally on the national news one night, and I went, yeah, cool. That's good for them. That's not for me. Well, we move again. Omaha. I'm starting to feel what they were talking about, that little bit of depression, and isolation. She said it again, you had that dad group thing, so I looked it up, and sure enough, Omaha dads had something. CJ Trader, who was out here, I don't know if you guys have met him, but he's one of the first guys I met. Cool guy to talk to and everything. Lured me right in. I didn't miss one after that, every single time. Well, fast forward 3 more years, 3 kids, I'm moving. Like, there's got to be one in Sioux Falls of some kind, and there was not. First thing I did is that I'm going to start, just like what Brock said, find a city. I was like panicking, like, oh man, meetup.com, I better make sure Sioux Falls Dads isn't taken. It wasn't. Then I got on the Facebook page, made a page, not a group right away, made a page that kind of reach out a little bit, and then Twitter, and I've been talking, I think, to you a little bit afterwards. Last year, I was not going to do Instagram whatsoever. Well, Brock said, I beg you to change your mind. I went, okay, fine. It was a good move. It was a really good move to get on that, because Instagram, you can attach Twitter and Facebook together. One solid thing that goes to all those avenues. You just gotta know your hashtags and stuff. But like I said, I was starting to get a little bit depressed again, to be honest with you. My wife, like I said, moms are the biggest key. I think was our asset was moms. Well, my wife was the one that said, "Well, start one up there. It's free." I went, "Yeah, I'm gonna do that." So Omaha dads are helping out. I got a National Home Dad Network Facebook page, and I asked the guys what they do, and you better believe. Every administrator, a whole bunch of the guys would just give me all this advice, and I go, okay, it's almost too much. I think I literally printed the page out at one point in time, just to kind of get some ideas, and that's kind of how I reached out. And like I said, I was alone for probably 4 months to the park, but I was getting out of the house, still had it, and I purchased the Dads Don't Babysit shirt online, and within I think 2 meetups, I had a couple of moms come to me. But then one of the guys said, well, get those business cards going. I'm like, oh yeah, Omaha Dads have some. Got the business cards and started handing them out. Next thing you know, it's kind of funny because about a month or 2 later, I heard from somebody else, oh yeah, there's Stay-at-Home Dad, there's this group in Sioux Falls, and I'm like, yes, let's go full circle now. I've actually heard from somebody on the outside, and one of those was actually and my wife's a physician, he was a physician at a hospital, and he came out. He actually came up last year to this, he couldn't come this year, but then his wife started spreading. Well, then my wife's, this is one of the things I was going to say today was my wife's work, where she's in the hospital. They have a physician recruiter. She asked me if she could have some of our cards because a lot of the people coming into her, and this is not just a hospital, but like banking and everything were coming in, professional working women, and their husbands were going to be either not working or looking for work. And that's why I'll give you my cards. And so it's worked on a couple of times. They haven't necessarily come back, but that's kind of where, like you were talking about, the shirts were amazing for me. They really worked out well because it was a foreign language to people about a dad's group back in Sioux Falls.
Well, and that's the thing too. So he's talking about like you get these cards, you're handing them out to people, and with the city dads, they've got cards as well that I hand out. You might hand out like 100 cards, and you might see a return of like 5 to 10 guys maybe. And don't let that deter you. Like the business card idea is a great idea. Like if you're in an area where you're like in a small portion, like so you're not in a metropolitan city, so you're in a smaller portion, you can still build your business cards, and you can get them for like really inexpensive on a lot of different websites, but they're handy to have with just basic information on. Even if you're like, the main thing that we do, and I feel like it's really the bread and butter of dad's groups, is dad's night out. You know, it's great to have all the other things that are there, but dad's night out as a scheduled once a month, like this is going to be the time. Like for instance, like I finally have fallen on the 3rd Thursday of every month is dad's night out. So you already have that in play, and you can set that up, and everybody knows that. And you can even, to the point where you can almost print it on a business card to say, hey, every 3rd Thursday, bang, like, and you just have either a group or a page where you're posting where it's going to be at, and see who shows up. So that's kind of the return on getting those sent out. So you might hand a bunch out, you might get your return, but it might be little. But the idea is like it's like a little engine that could, you know. You build it up after a while, and you get these guys who are like, oh man, like I found that beneficial. Because you will get guys you'll run into like, yeah, run this dad's group, and this is what we do. I don't know, man. Like that just doesn't sound like that's something for me. And it's like, well, who are you hanging out with? Do you get time away? Do you get time off to go? I don't know. I mean, my wife's always telling me, like, just schedule it and go do something, but I just don't know, like, if I schedule it, like, who am I going to hang out with? It's like, ta-da, like, let me just present to you a bunch of people. You know, like, let me just make it easy for you. So that's kind of the way to go about that. And then, too, if you do one of these dad's night out, and maybe you had guys that show up, life happens, too. So say 3 guys are like, yeah, we can make it, and then those 3 guys don't show up. This is a true life story, by the way. Very first dad's night out. Hey, let's all go to the brewery. Okay, sweet. Show up. I'm getting messages as I'm sitting there drinking my beer waiting on guys. Hey, man, sorry. Things are getting crazy at home. Oh, yeah, my kid just popped a fever. You know, like that kind of thing. And I'm not going to make it. Like, all right, now I'm at the bar by myself. Okay, now what do I do? You can still make something of that, honestly, in the fashion of, for me, I actually started to talk to the person who was pouring beers behind the bar. And they were like, oh man, like our owner would probably love to meet you and partner with you somehow, you know? And so I actually made like my first partnership with a brewery to where they actually, anytime we want to do something, I can call them up and be like, hey, like, would you be interested in being involved in this? And so we've gotten to do some things with them. So that's been really neat. And then that's kind of grown from there because you go to other places like, hey, yeah, like so-and-so was doing some things with, oh man, yeah, can we get a board on that? Like, what can we do? So that's kind of how that ball gets rolling. So I'll tell you, like, to date, like I said, we've been at it now for about 2 years in Cincinnati. I run, like I said, a closed dads group where the guys can talk amongst each other. And there's a big sort of like, I don't know if I want to do a closed group. You guys are in the national closed group probably and see like some of the craziness that happens in there from time to time. And I'm an admin in there and I get to deal with it all the time. But in a closed group in that sort of setting, I've not had that problem for 2 years. Because here's the thing. Why would you troll somebody that you're going to possibly run into in a grocery store? And then if you get into a confrontation, then have to explain to your kids why it is that daddy decided to like, you know, get into like an argument with some other person. It's just not going to happen typically. You know, unless someone's really just having a bad day and they just, you know, that's the way it is, which, like I said, I haven't had that happen before. So that's a kind of a consideration. That's one of the things that I started to talk to Charlie about a little bit more, is getting that going, because he's just had the page, and then last year, like I said, he didn't want to do Instagram, and I was like, hey, this is a great way to get your name out there more, because Facebook really just like makes it more difficult with their algorithms on how to reach out to people, whereas Instagram, like, you can reach all kinds of people, and people follow all kinds of hashtags. I mean, the biggest hashtag to follow, of course, is fatherhood. Throw that in there, there's all kinds of folks that are following that, but then you throw other mixes into it, especially like when you go somewhere, like you go to a museum and you tag that museum, and that museum sees that, their social media, like, whoa, there's this group of dads, like what? And then they like put it on their storyline or something like that, and then you get all this other exposure from all the people that are following them. So you just use those different avenues to just kind of build things out. But today, 2 years into it, like I said, there's like 400 guys that have gotten involved in the closed dads group and in the meetup page. And that's probably the one difference between being a part of City Dads itself under that entity like umbrella versus a just where Charlie's got kind of his own thing going, is the idea that we kind of get a benefit of being a part of meetup.com, and City Dads kind of taking care of us in that to get that going. You would probably, if you're in a small group, be more receptive to like actually starting up your own style of that, but there are like other avenues outside of meetup.com to do that. Because are you using one?
We quit because most of the dads that were coming were not even looking at the meetup.
But I mean, like a different other than meetup though.
No, I just use Facebook, and that's about it for us.
If you're in a small town, I would say honestly, like if you can, just collect their phone numbers and just set up a text message type of deal.
That's what we do right now.
There are actually some really cool free services. The board for the organization actually uses Slack, and that's a great one to do that, because you can actually set up your own thread communicators, and that's, you can individually message people, or you can just have a long list where guys can just ask questions and answer stuff, and it actually builds like offshoot threads. So if someone just answers that specific question, you're not going to get a notification for it, or just go to those people. So it's a really nice, like, I don't want to be on the Facebook grid, definitely look into Slack.
What did you say it was? Slack was the name
Slack,
of it?
yeah, Slack.com. And you can do it both on like your phone, and also too they have an app for the computers. So it's super handy. I can show some of you guys, because of course I'm using my phone right now, but I can show you guys what it looks like after this, and it's just really clean, nice. I mean, you can share files, you can share photos, you can even video conference on it actually. So it's got all those different aspects. So anyway, yeah, so that's kind of what goes on. Like the main thing that I try to do is Dad's Night Out once a month. That's probably the biggest thing. And then trying to build in different things. So like if you're an at-home dad, like getting those other at-home dads together and having that direct communication with those guys in your community is just another way to draw them out of isolation, and also give them the empowerment of like, hey, I'm taking my kids to the park. Anybody want to come hang out with me? That's probably the biggest one, because they've probably just been going to the park by themselves and just randomly running into people. Now they can actually be like, hey buddy, like come with me, like that kind of deal. So this kind of grows their confidence as well. How's that been for you?
Good. Well, you and I had actually talked about a month ago on the phone, and I actually, with the Sioux Falls, I always thought just at-home dads, that's what I'm trying to connect with. For 2 years, I was doing good, but we're kind of stumbled. And he told me to open it up to like all dads, because there was actually some interest when they started handing those cards out. I had a few emails at our email address, and like, well, I don't know what to do, and I can't talk to you about it. So I actually did open it up, and like literally the last Dad's Night we had, right before we came here, we had like 6 guys show up. Half of them were brand new. They were all, one of them wasn't at home dad, they just hadn't reached out yet, but the other 2 were working. But they only worked certain hours, and like their wife would work other hours, and we were still primary caretakers. And they came out and we chatted, and like we exchanged numbers.
Yeah.
Now they're on a text thread with us. Gotta go back and set something up. They said, oh yeah, we're definitely coming. So I was like, whoa. I opened it up to all dads. They're still primary caretakers. I was just saying stay-at-home dads. Well, these guys are working. One guy's a nurse ER or whatever it is, and his wife works the other hours, and he's still taking care of the kids throughout the week. It's like, gosh, I didn't think about that. And then you told me something about that. That really worked out well.
Yeah, and also too, consider like if you're in a situation where maybe you want to, like, say you want to get a project done or whatever, and it's even during the week. We held a thing that's really fun, like just impromptu evening or day actually at a buddy's house. He's an at-home dad like myself. He had this huge backyard, and he wanted to cut down trees and just like use chainsaws and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And there were a group of guys that came, and they were like, all like, yeah, give me the chainsaw, like let's do this. And then there were other guys like, cool man, I'll just hang out with the kids, like we'll just do whatever. So like you had a few dads entertaining the kids and kind of keeping them away from all the crazy going on out there, but they could watch it through like the windows and see like dad being a lumberjack or whatever. And then you had like, the other guys were out there doing their thing. So it all really kind of just mixed well, and we did lunch together, and like it was fun. And take pictures of that stuff. Like take the time like to step away and snap some shots, because one, you're building these like fun memories for these guys who maybe otherwise wouldn't do that, and 2, like you can use it as a way to just throw it out there for other people to see.
I set a goal of 4 pictures every time.
4 pictures,
Instagram,
good.
I can show all 4 of them on one Instagram post. I'll do some more sometimes, but when it pops up on Instagram, you can see 4 little photos. That's something I do. But it can be tough, especially when you're alone at the park, but find your kids doing some funny stuff.
Yeah.
You get a lot of comments on it. It's kind of fun to see that.
You got anything else you want to add?
I was saying earlier, is for us, the best thing is just the area. Not a really unique idea back home, but it's just something that had never been processed. So like the media is kind of something I caught on to our post, and control that idea a little bit too. If you do like try to get into it, try to add an outside source trying to tell the media some stuff. Don't call it a support group, because we're not support. We are a social group. Our support comes from our family. That's what our support factor is. And like we said in there, our support comes from other dads. This is us going out and having fun with our kids and socializing with them. That's what they caught on to as a support group, and I didn't say backlash, but there's a few comments. I'm like, I wish they never would have done that. They're trying to help, but backfired a little bit. But social group, we are socializing. This is it. This is ours. This is us socializing too, a little bit of support as well. But yeah.
Yeah, that's. I've done some media in Cincinnati, and I've actually corrected an anchor one time on air, not in a mean way or anything, but they were just like, the Cincinnati Dads Group is a stay-at-home dads group, for stay-at-home. I'm like, no, like, let me just stop you real quick. I was like, this is the Cincinnati Dads Group. It's open to all dads. So, and the other side of that too is to be like inclusive of dads. There are different categories of dads. So, I've got guys who are foster dads. I'm like, yeah, man, you've got kids. You're a dad. Like, you're a part of this. I've got guys who are like single dads. I've got gay dads. All of them are in there, you know, it's like, you're all welcome, like, come on in. And for some guys, it's like, I've never felt this kind of acceptance before. And that is probably one of the coolest feelings that you can give somebody, is for them to feel that acceptance. And that just, like, really just glues them in that much more. So I kind of want to open this up a little bit. We've got guys from, it looks like maybe all over. I just kind of want to find out, like, where you're from, and maybe kind of get an idea of, like, the size of your community. So let's start with you.
So I'm in Appleton, Wisconsin. It's a population of 75,000, and in Fox City's metro area, it's a population of about 250,000.
Okay.
And there is no dad group in Appleton that I am aware of.
Okay. So you said 250,000?
250,000 in the Tri-Cities, Fox Cities area, but Appleton itself is 75,000. 250 within 15 miles.
That's a good number.
Yeah, it's pretty good size.
That's a good number.
Yeah, it's about my size of where we live, so it's a good place to start.
Yeah, there's definitely a community there. I just haven't
Sure.
found that community.
You have media there too, like news and stuff?
Oh yeah, plenty of that stuff.
Okay.
I'm from Milwaukee. We're in the metro area. There's about 1 million people. I have not found any kind of dad group. I've met up with a couple of guys, or Colin Bennett.
Colin Bennett,
He's I think he's running for the board actually. I met up with him and our kids at the zoo, but nothing official. No dad's group that I know of.
Cool. Where you from?
I'm actually local. I was just curious about this, but
Sure.
there's Twin Cities Dad's group.
Are you with Twin Cities?
I actually am not, but I was planning on joining up this once.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so Chris and Keith and those guys. Awesome. That's cool. Hey, glad you're here.
I'm from Columbia, Missouri. So our population's about 100,000.
Yeah.
So a little bit on the smaller side. I'm in a parenting group that's got about 1,000 people in it, but it's 99% women.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got about 20 guys. So we're trying to figure out how to bridge that gap and get more people.
What's been sort of, I guess, like kind of getting into a place where you get dads out? Like, what kind of things have you been hearing, or how's that respond? What's your response?
That's kind of our next step. I've been going out to the park and been playing with my kids and not got anybody out.
Mm-hmm.
University of Missouri there, right?
Yeah.
As I say, I don't know if there's a way to reach out, not really reach out to them, but kind of see what they would have for
Yeah,
even
we could
like
check
a play
the
area.
university. Yeah.
To reach out to some of those, like, I know some kids that were in Sioux Falls, and they're like college age kids. Their wife was working on her degree, and he came through, and I was like, they just worked at the university hospital just for a year, and he only came out with us for a year, but then he's near Appleton, Marshall, Wisconsin now.
Oh.
And so he moved off, and then he wasn't going to start one there because a whole bunch of his dads were kind of all already there, and they're going to be moving in a couple of years. But I don't know, I just remember Columbia going, that's Missouri. I said, maybe there's a way to have a play area there or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Definitely. And that's the thing too, like you get young dads who, they're just like not too sure, and they get around a dad, maybe it's got an older kid or something. Yeah, it's just be encouraging, hey, you're welcome to come to this, and we want you there. And I've had older dads too who were just like, I don't know, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, like maybe the going to the park isn't something that's feasible for you, but coming to dad's night out and like being able to take the wisdom and knowledge that you've learned as a father and like pass that on to some of these guys who are trying to figure it out, like, and you get like, well, I'm still trying to figure it out. It's like, well, great, like, we have something in common on top of everything else. So yeah, I think that there's definitely room for that. So yeah, I keep pushing forward on it because I think that it'll eventually break through. It's just like I said, it's the little engine that could. Man, you just gotta keep chugging it along. What about you?
My name is Brian. I live in Johnstown, Colorado. Population of about 10,000.
Is that like outside of the Denver area? Like where is that? Like close to Metro?
About an hour outside of Denver.
Okay.
About an hour outside of Boulder. About 45 minutes outside of Fort Collins.
Okay. Yeah.
A ways away from all the big cities.
Sure. What is kind of like the demographic out there as far as like the dads? Like, are you finding at-home dads in your area?
I've met two.
Yeah.
Since I've been doing it for 9 years.
Okay.
By and large, no.
What's that?
By and large, no.
By and large, no. I mean, and that's okay. I mean, there are some areas where they're even like, I would consider them like closet at-home dads that just like might not see themselves that way, like work from home kind of deal. Like, oh, I don't consider myself an at-home dad. It's like, are you home with the kids primarily the most time? Yeah, well, I mean, you fit that category. Like, even if you don't want to, like, you know, maybe raise that torch in the air and wave it around, you're still in that category. But still, you've got all these other dads around you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you come into contact with them, like, have you ever tried to invite any of them out for any kind of just evening, like, hey, like, we're gonna go to this restaurant or go do something?
No, there was a neighbor, more of a social butterfly, that did a guys' night for a while, and that was odd at first because, you know, I was the odd man out, literally.
Right.
Oldest of the group. I started late, you know, I did. So a bunch of younger guys, you know, I'm years apart from the eldest, which was the butterfly. And then I don't know if you guys experienced, you know, the first 5 years of raising kids, mine's kind of a goop.
Okay. Yeah.
So social interactions were difficult,
Right.
at best. Other than with family or wife, I could talk really good with the kids and other people's kids.
Yeah. So I would say in that respect, like, so you take the kids to like library.
Yeah.
Do you run into any dads in that area? Is it mostly just moms?
I could say I've never ran into one of the dads at the library.
Really?
We are like
That seems
card-carrying members.
Okay. Yeah, I think that I would say in your case, because it does seem like it is a very like tiny little like cluster you got there. Like, I would, if you're really wanting to go for it, you go into those libraries and those areas where you've got the most public traffic, like even a grocery store. Like if you print up a flyer type of deal and just start to like kind of build attraction, like the attention for it.
Yeah.
And then too, like I think the other big part of it is like start getting in mom's ears about it. You know, like, hey, like this is what I'm doing. Like wearing it, like, do you have a Dad's Don't Babysit shirt?
This is my first time.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I got one this morning.
Sweet. You'll find that it'll
Wear
attract
it.
attention like flies
Wear
to honey.
Where?
Yeah, wear that thing out, man. I guarantee you will have like people just like craning their neck like crazy when they see it.
What I'll do sometimes too is I'll just take my business card, and even if there's no one there, I'll put it on like a picnic bench.
Yeah.
Like, what's one card? What if it blows away in the wind? Oh well.
Yeah.
And pretty soon, you know, you're going to another place and it's kind of set it here, and if no one says anything great, go to the library, I'll set it down just on the counter on the table, like, oops, I dropped it.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really oops, I did it on purpose, but it's something. I mean, it's, you know, to reach out, but I don't know, I say that, wear that shirt and see what happens, it grabs attention. I put the Dad's Don't Babysit bumper sticker on my car, and I've got people taking pictures of the back of my car because of that sticker. It's kind of fun.
He has people taking a picture of his wife's car.
Yeah, they had people taking pictures of my wife's car at work too, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I would just say like you probably got a little bit of extra work as far as like pushing it out there, but it's more along the lines of like you get those one or two guys and you're good to go. Like,
Do you hit a point? I don't know how old your kids are. It sounds like you're in a.
my kids are almost 4 and 7.
Okay, mine are 6 and almost 9.
Okay.
Is there a point where you age out of that?
I think it depends on the mentality. I've been asked that question many times. Hey, like, you know, what happens when your kids get older? Are you going to age out of this? For me, no. Like, I've pretty much, like, I'm invested completely in this.
This is who I am.
This is who I am now. Like, I consider myself an advocate of fatherhood. And because of that advocacy of fatherhood, like, it doesn't end. So, your dad for life. And so, for me, like, that whole mindset, that passion just continues to drive on. Because, like I said, as you get older, you have knowledge, you have wisdom that you can share with the younger dads. And it's not something you need to push on them, but there are just times where you have a conversation. It's like, well, hey, yeah, I understand, I can sympathize with what you're going through, and here's what we did. It might not work for you, but this gives you another, you know, maybe tool in the box to go with.
Right.
So yeah, I would consider not having the mentality of like I'm gonna age out.
I didn't mean it like.
No, you're fine.
Physical age-wise, I'm like, you know, my kids are getting to the point where do I need social interaction from other like-minded people now that I am at the point where I can talk to adults again, because they're both past 5.
Mm-hmm.
Especially my elder, you know, it's like a little,
right.
He's more enjoyable with talking to those adults. It's kind of like, the more I meet people, the more I love my dog.
I'm sure. I think in that mindset, what you run into is this. So if you can, and this is the way that I look at it. So my kids have gotten to meet. We live in a pretty large metropolitan area. Have gotten to meet kids from other parts of the city, and it's really neat to see them interact and actually start bonding together, because then they're getting conversation with other kids that they may not come into contact with. So if you've got multiple school districts, you get that. And also too, like if you think about it, like with like school rivalries and stuff, which are just a melting pot of toxicity in its own way, like this kind of breaks that down. Like, oh, like why does that school have that? Like, I don't need to have that. We're all on the same level. We're all on the same playing field. We're all just a bunch of kids hanging out. So doing that like really breaks that barrier down. And then two, like you said, what about, do I need to have, or how does that work with connecting with other adults basically? And I think that it just allows for you to connect with their parents if they want to. And it just depends, like, it's a two-way street.
I see that angle and I love it. That's probably why I will pursue it more so.
Yeah.
Like, I could have used this group immensely 7 years ago. Still use it now. I could use, like a dad group at home immensely, ages, a few months to 5 years. I'm at a point now I can kind of take it or leave. This group is great.
Yeah.
But like a dad's group, and I think that's a probably misnomer in my mind, that I could probably use it more than I think even now.
Right.
I had to get past the stubbornness. I don't need this. I'm tough. I can do this. I started realizing I'm with kids all day long. And you talk to somebody, my wife was noticing, I think you need to try to reach out to some people more than like the military. When they were there on base, they had a women's group of stay-at-home spouses. And they're like, oh, we'd be happy to have you here. Unfortunately, it is all women. I'm like going, I have no disrespect for you, but that's like going to be me feeling so much like an outcast. And that's when I just said, okay, let's just broaden the horizon a little bit.
I already feel like an outcast.
10 miles away, quick drive. And I see this, I was like, okay, this is going to be weird. I don't know about these guys. What are they all about? And then just go and take a chance. And like, okay, I did. It was amazing. It was like this out here. Guys just having fun, hanging out, talking about anything. And I was like, oh. So that was where my regret was, is my kid was already turning 4. And 3 going on 4, something like that. It was too long to not reach out. And I was in Washington, D.C., where I know they have one up there. And a huge one. And I was like, I could have so used that when I was out there.
Yeah. What were you saying, Matt?
I think anybody thinking about this has to look at their motivation for why they want to start a dad's group. It's fine if some of it is isolation and loneliness, but if that's all it is, then it's not going to last very long, because you find your 4 or 5 guys that become part of your crew, then you don't need the group anymore, and all of a sudden you're just texting the 4 or 5 guys, let's go to the zoo, and the aspect of the group is kind of gone. But if your motivation is to try to create a community, it can last beyond your kids being still part of the experience. Now, mine are now 14 and 11. We started NYC Dads Group 10 years ago when they were 3 and a newborn. And of course, the group for me at that point was very much about being in the park with dads hanging out with kids. And that wasn't reality when they started school, so the group became, how do I develop other guys to want to plan a meetup in Central Park, or how do we get on social media, or how do we advocate for this or whatever. So the group can be much more than just that solving the loneliness problem. It can be, I mean, for me, looking back now especially, I was Max's dad in the world for 3 years before we started the group. I didn't have my own identity beyond being Max's dad. Being the NYC Dads Group co-founder, organizer, writer, whatever we've become, gave me some of my identity back and my place in the world back. I love my kids and I love being Max and Sam's dad, but having that extra piece of the puzzle has allowed me to stay at home, continue staying at home as well. Like, I wouldn't be able to still be at home with them if I didn't have something else that was.
I think too, like if you go back to what the former speaker in the main room was talking about too, about like the group that the community that he's been building, with things, like that is sort of where it kind of goes to with, you know, the whole idea of like getting your identity back, because you are if you're in it to connect other dads and grow that community, that whole idea, that mindset really spreads around folks. Like I will go places and meet somebody, and this took a little bit of time to do, but you'll meet somebody, especially a mom, like, oh hey, my name's Brock Lush, I run the Cincinnati Dads group, and they're like, oh, you're that dad I've heard about. You know, like, oh, you're that guy that's like trying to, you know, get this dad community going. Like, well, I'm not trying, I'm doing it. Like, you know, but still at the same time, it's nice to see that recognition. It's like the name's getting out there.
Yeah.
And so that's, the more it gets pushed out, the more people go like, oh yeah, I've heard your name before.
Yeah.
And then that gives you like that extra big of a push, like, oh wow, like it's working.
Do you remember the skit they did in there about the firefighters versus stay-at-home dads? I was a firefighter before. The camaraderie factor could not have hit the nail more on the head. I mean, those guys are out there, they're handshaking, they're high-fiving, they're hugging, whatever it is. So many times they sit and try to be the tough guy mentality. Well, this is kind of like our camaraderie. It's like once a week we get together, we get to be around other guys in a similar position.
Yeah.
You got people going out after work, go have a, you know, open bar for, you know, or, you know, the happy hour for just an hour. This is kind of our way to kind of, not so much happy hour, but have a couple of hours where we can kind of let the kids play and get an energy burned up and talk to the other dads. And there's more than one time we said, you know, I've got to go, hate to say, move a couch. All right, I'll come over. We'll go play in the backyard. We're done. Sure, sounds good. So you go over and help, and your kids get a bond a little bit too. You're just making friends, and it's like, that to me, I think was like really what got me involved in it. It's going, oh man, just driving halfway across Omaha just to go to a play group. Because I was like, this is great. I love this. This is awesome. These guys are in a similar situation I am in that.
Well, it's like you get the guys, you know, if you're into board games and that too. I mean, there's so many, you know, guys that like to play board games. Like, all right, we're gonna do like every so often we're gonna do a board game night. And you see all the guys that come out for that, and it just, oh, I would never have gotten to do that if somebody hadn't like set it up. Like, oh, well, great, like let's keep doing it, you know. Or if you've got guys who they just want to, you know, go for a hike or something, whatever it is. I mean, there are different avenues that you can take it into. What's that?
Hatchet throwing seems to be.
Hatchet throwing. Yeah.
Beer and hatchet throwing.
I mean, all that stuff. Yeah, it's crazy. So we've got about 10 minutes, I believe, before we've got to kind of close things up. What other questions can we kind of address for you? Yeah.
What's on your business cards?
Yeah, or I'll pull one out for you.
I don't know if I have mine on top of my head. Yeah, probably about
So, of course, with me, I'm on all like the social media platforms and things.
Right.
So you'll see that
Right, mine's up in the room.
it's
Sorry.
got. Yeah. I'm gonna have to order some more.
I just think if you guys see me, I'll go get mine, and if you guys see me and you want
that
one
right
from me,
there.
I mean, mine are pretty simple.
Yeah, I'd like one. 'Cause I want to go to both of your websites and really check
Okay.
out, see how
Yeah.
you kind of
I
structure
think
things.
for like any like for you
Yep.
in a small town Appleton.
So if you've already got like a, you know, like a personal, if you've got a personal email already of some kind, I highly suggest like maybe trying to grab one up that's just got the name of like maybe your first name and like last initial and then the name of the dad's group kind of deal. So that way you're easy to track down and you're also not getting like all of your other stuff compiled with if someone's trying to contact you. And that's the nice part about like Gmail. You can actually set up those multiple accounts like that. But yeah, you'll see on there like we're on Facebook. We've got a public page on there. We've got Instagram. We've got Twitter. I don't know which other one is on there as well. I think that's pretty much it. And then we've got just the CincinnatiDadsGroup.com, which really just goes back to the City Dads Group page, I believe.
It goes to your meetup page.
Or meetup page, that's what it goes to the meetup page. So there's different avenues for that. So for instance, like you wouldn't need to put so much the .com portion on there because Slack is, I don't think there's a way to do that in that way. You have to actually be invited in to that group. So no one's gonna be able to just search that out. So you would get their email address and then be able to put them into your Slack group if that's what you wanted to do.
Okay.
But like, so Facebook page is just public. Nobody's going to be able to post anything on there. They can comment, but they can't post up any of their own pictures or messages and things. They can respond to what you're putting out there. But that's a great way to get some things out to folks and hashtag things like hashtag the city you're in, you know, hashtag what you're doing. You can only put about 2 to 3 on Facebook before the algorithm goes, nah, you're a bot. Like you don't get all this extra publicity. So it's kind of annoying, but that's how it is. Instagram is different. You know, you can put like up to like 20 hashtags on there. So like for instance, like if I'm going to post up that I'm taking my kids to the museum or the zoo, you know, I'm gonna hashtag them, you know, like the city I'm in, maybe kids, fatherhood, like playing, like if we're seeing dinosaurs, like just all these different things that are kind of involved with what's going on. And it's interesting, you see just these people coming in who have been following these different hashtags, like, oh, like, I'm gonna follow that group, what are they doing? That's really cool. And it just kind of gets out. I will tell you this, if you're posting pictures with the kids and stuff, which is kind of how that works, please make sure that you talk to the dads and that's cool with them, because if you post something before you get that permission, you're just raining down all kinds of other conversations that you could have avoided.
My wife is super crazy paranoid about stuff with my own kids. So any picture that I ever post of my kids, it's usually them facing away or something. Can you do that with other people's kids, facing away without having, like, if you didn't get to the conversation? If it's not a facial shot, or do you still need to kind of...
there's definitely, like, you know, if you just got the kids playing at the park, you like take it from afar or something like that. Like maybe you're like selfieing yourself like this or whatever with like the kids just playing in the background. It's like no one's really able to like see them. Yeah, that's definitely a way to do that. There's even like, I mean, you can go as far as honestly to put like little smiley face stickers on their faces or something like that. But I mean, I would actually probably stick with just trying to get their permission over doing that.
I don't know if I ever get like even a random kid that I don't know face in the shot, I won't use that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if it's like, you know, you can't get a profile on them.
When you have them where you can put like a little checker mark on their face.
Right.
So
No, but I mean,
if you've seen their face or not,
right.
You can't quite distinguish them. But yeah, I know you mean. I
should
do that a lot
just
still.
caution towards privacy.
Right.
Yeah.
And two, like their thing is, I mean, some public places when you're taking shots, there's people like random kids in the background. Like it's already like there's, especially when you enter like a museum or something, they have somewhere. Most people don't see the disclaimers. It's, you know, like little print somewhere, but basically it says like, be known that there are people taking pictures that your kid's face could show up on this. So with entering and paying, like you accept the fact that that could happen. So that's how they also legally get away from basically being like, oh, I posted a picture of my kid. So kind of keep that in mind as well.
I wouldn't get too bogged down with that. You can go down a rabbit hole worrying about all this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes people are like, I'm starting a dad's group, I should trademark the name, and I should get a lawyer to do all this other stuff, and I need insurance. I mean, and it's like, don't worry, like start somewhere. You don't need to worry about all that stuff up front. We've been doing this for 10 years now. We now have lawyers and we now have insurance, but we didn't way back.
Yeah, I would say, you know, if you're into like however you do it, whether it be a Facebook closed group or even just a Facebook like public page, which is nice. Try to like just incorporate some sort of like decent, like just a nice little logo for your group as much as you can. I mean, it's not like huge to do, but I mean, if you come up with something that just kind of works, sometimes you might even be able to just find a dad who's like, hey, I do graphic design. Cool. Would you be interested in
I
like
still need to do that with mine.
doing that together? I mean, yeah, it's interesting. Like just different people you come up with. You're just like, oh, that's easy. Like I can put that together in like 5 minutes while just twiddling around. So, but having that like just kind of makes things that much more legit and looks better, honestly, for some people. So, I'll say this. So, since we're closing up, if you guys have questions, I'm more than welcome to, or more than happy to answer anything you got. You can message me on Facebook, stop me out here, whatever it is, but I'm super accessible. And same thing for Charlie.
Absolutely.
So, and anybody watching too, if you guys have got questions, please reach out to us, put stuff in the comments, answer what we can. I tend to end up like, after a while, like I get sick of texting and I just be like, give me your phone number and we'll just talk, because my fingers get tired and I just get annoyed with like, you know, putting in something that gets auto-corrected and have to like, you know, delete it, which is annoying. So, other than that, thanks for coming in and talking to us. I hope that you guys are really walking away with a little bit more ammunition in your pocket to go back home and really just like do what it is that you want to see your dad's group grow into. Thanks.
Thank you.
And thank you.